this video, we'll revise some of the most well-known grape varieties. We'll also see how different types of grapes are described. When we try to describe grapes, as usually when we try to describe anything, we consider three things: the size, the color, and the texture. Other times we can even consider other sensory perception things, but in this case we concentrate on these three aspects. Let's start with the Tempranillo grapes. Tempranillo grape is a very popular Spanish variety. Tempranillo grapes give balanced juices that produce ruby-like wines. The Tempranillo variety is very characteristic for the Spanish Rioja area. This grape is medium size, its color is medium to dark blue with gray hues. The term hues are varieties of a common color. In this case, we take the blue color as a base with gray hues or gray shades of blue. We usually use the reference to name such hues. For example, a hue of red is tile red, one of them. That is the kind of red that is very similar to the color of roof tiles. So we'll talk about reference a little bit more in the coming slides. Now, the Cabernet Sauvignon. The berries of this variety are tight and small. This variety produces grapes with an intense violet color. This type of grape is very characteristic of the Bordeaux wines in France. And we'll come back to this later on. Let's turn into the Sauvignon Blanc variety. There are two varieties of Sauvignon Blanc, but let's concentrate first on the kind of berry. The Sauvignon Blanc berries are medium size. The berries are basically green. They are not as compact as the Cabernet ones. And there are two varieties, the green one and the yellowish one. The yellowish variety gives golden yellow berries, and this variety produces also wines like Sauternes. A Sauternes berry, the type of Sauterne berry is typically shiny. As you can see in the photograph is not very good, I'm afraid. Now, let's concentrate in the Merlot variety. The name of the Merlot grape comes from the Old French term for blackbird. In Spanish, this bird is called Merlot. The Merlot bird is very well known in Spain because the first grapes of the season are this type of bird's favorite meal. So Merlot eats this kind of berry. Such birds are black, and they look like almost black dark blue berries of the Merlot variety. That's the connection. And now let's turn into the Spanish Muscatel grape variety. This grape is sweet, and it's used as a fruit dessert mostly. When wines are produced after this variety, they are aromatic, fragrant, and fresh wines. They typically grow in the southern part of Spain, and if you compare the Muscatel and the Sauterne grapes, you will note that while the Sauterne berry tends to golden, the Muscatel berry at its best is bigger and greener than the Sauterne one. Now, what happens when the grapes ripe at the vineyard? When the grapes are still ripening in the vineyard, they first of all get bigger and they get softer. And the green color fades, or the bluish color turns more intense during the ripening. During this time, while they are ripening, a very important chemical process takes place. It is called photosynthesis, and we'll talk about that later. But just to introduce you to that. This process of photosynthesis has two effects. One is that the storage of the sugar it produces, increases. And at the same time, the concentration of red pigments in the skin of the red grape increases too. And as a result, the concentration of aroma components also increases. And also at the same time, the dilution of sugar increases, but the respiration of the plant decreases. And both the acid content and acid strength decrease and weaken. So all this happens before the grapes have been picked. So, how to classify wines? We're going to get two approaches to this. Wines can be classified depending on a combination of the geographical origin and a few more things. The first approach is just the color. Wines can be classified simply depending on the color. That's reds, whites, and rosés. The other most popular type of classification divides wines into still wines, table wines, fizzy wines, and dessert wines. This is a rather vague classification, more or less based on the type of meal and or the purpose of the wine, but it's a widely used classification. Wine, as I said before, can also be classified depending on a combination of the geographical origin and the type of grape they are made of. For example, a Bordeaux, a Ribera wine. These wines are named after its origin, their origin only. But certain qualities of these wines are closely related to the place of origin, obviously to the types of soil and the place they are found on, or they are related to. We have seen already the different types of soils. Another very important factor used to classify wines has to do with the type of containers where the wine is put to age and the amount of time they have spent aging. This container, and we'll see more about that later, could be made from wood or metal. Wooden berries could be made using American oak or French oak. And the contact with the different types of oak affects its organoleptic characteristics. This is another difficult word that you should learn, organoleptic. The quality of wines is also an important thing. This feature, the quality of wines, gives way to the term that combines the place of origin, obviously related to the types of soils, and at the same time, as we've seen, the type of grape that grows better in that particular area. Then a classification of wines depending on the DO has turned into an important trademark reference. The term DO comes originally from the French phrase dénomination d'origine. Similarly, the Spanish noun phrase denominación de origen is used in Spanish-speaking areas. In addition, in Spain, two categories classification is also used, just table wines and quality wines to make it easier. But the thing is that we see that classifying wines is not an easy thing. As for reference, the usual three important reference, I insist on Tom Canavan's web page, which is a very good one. Well, that's all. Thanks for watching.